latest report on Kirill Kaprizov and the Minnesota Wild here. There was a couple of predictions that sort of touched on what we think is going to happen, but the great Pierre LeBrun in The Athletic. And is it fair to say, like, Mount Rushmore of NHL newsbreakers,
he's on there.
Take it to the bank, right?
He's very plugged in.
Is he on the Mount Rushmore? Is he on the 4?
I would say so. I think so, Judd.
Elliot Friedman's on the Mount Rushmore. Darren Dreger, Bob McKenzie he's retired a little bit now. LeBron. I mean, there's like a few guys who would be vying, but LeBron but LeBron, much like Rosenthal, if he writes it, he's got a good source.
Okay. Frank Cervelli has been the one who's literally tweeting out every single Seattle Kraken player.
He got his own website.
That's coming out right now.
It's absolutely genius. And somebody at ESPN has to tell these jokers, just like they did with tipping draft picks in football and basketball, quit giving us the entire expansion list. This was supposed to be fun tonight, and now it's going to be done, including some breaking wild news.
So you guys, you guys will do the full. There'll be a Judd's hockey show where you guys will do a full recap of the expansion draft and who the Wild lost. Looks like Susie. But Pierre LeBrun said, I'm just going to read this. Kirill Kaprizov has a legit offer from, is it pronounced CSKA Moscow?
Yes.
Correct.
Is that what we're doing?
Yep.
Okay.
Correct.
Sources confirm. And so where this goes now will be interesting. So he's a restricted free agent. If he wants to go back and play in the KHL, he can. There's more money in the NHL, but there's also, it's Russia. So maybe they've got some money under the table. Pay him his money.
Vodka.
While there are some who view it as leverage in talks with the Wild, it is nevertheless believed to be true that there's a pretty big offer to Kaprizov from the KHL club. An issue so far between the Wild and Kaprizov's camp is believed to be term. Minnesota is offering an 8-year deal, while the players' camp has expressed a desire for a 3-year deal. So do you guys think that there's a legit chance that he would go back and play in the KHL? What do you make of this report, and how viable is it that the Wild are in a tough situation here with one of the best players in the league?
So Kaprizov's agent clearly continues to use guys like his friend Kevin Weeks, who now is going to be with ESPN, who's a former National Hockey League goaltender who was also Weeks' agent at one point. And now LeBron's like a step up, because like Weeks is like, well, he's affiliated with the guy, and he's not a reporter. And now this goes to a credible reporter. So there's something going on behind the scenes here. Dex, on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your level of concern about Kaprizov flat out not coming back here right now with LeBron's report? Because Bill Guerin obviously attempted to just completely dismiss Weeks' tweet a few weeks back.
It's a 6 out of 10. This first started about a month ago.
I'd like to hear that alarm.
Judd asked me the same question, and I said 4, because this is when about a month ago is when the Kevin Weeks thing came down. I said 4. This is nothing. It's fine. Then it grew to a 5 a couple weeks back, and now it's definitely at a 6. If we're entering 7 now, we're in the DEFCON 2 to 3 stage. Like the scramble the jets. Nuclear war is imminent. I am panicking. We're all gonna die. I'm at a 6. I'm one call away from with the nuke codes. Like I'm one call away. I'm at a 6 right now with this news. Okay. I'm at a 6.
So you are basically Bill Pullman.
One call away.
You're about to fly the spaceship up thing to defeat the bad guys.
Yes, the military's on standby.
Okay, I got
no pun intended. Yeah.
So my concern right now would not be as high as Dex, but it's a 5. It's one step down from Dex, and here's why. I think there's a lot of unknown here. The known factor is this one. This is clearly a negotiating ploy, okay? And if this was like a player from the States or from Canada, you'd say it's a complete negotiating ploy. He's coming back. He wants to play here. Best league in the world. KHL.
Yeah, you're not going to move to Russia. That doesn't make sense.
Exactly. But here's why I put it at a 5, and the unknown is this. And I said this when the Weeks tweet came out. For everybody who's like, he ain't, it's BS. It's BS. It's not going to happen. The problem is we don't know a thing about this kid. And I said this last time. He came here during a pandemic. He was phenomenal, but he basically, I think for the most part, sat in his apartment, ate
I saw him at the bar.
Yeah, but that was after it started to subside. But my point is, we have no idea about his relationship with his family. We have no idea. You know what? Shocking. What if he liked Russia? And I know that wouldn't make a lot of sense, but he's from there. So yeah. All I'm saying is to dismiss this as a complete negotiating ploy and be like, it's BS. Don't worry about it. Seems to me to be a little bit overzealous and confident. And there's some hubris in that. I think he stays here and signs a shorter term deal than the Wild would like. But I would feel better about this if we had actually covered the kid and like got a feel for him, like with Ant, right? Like with Ant, we saw him on Zooms and we know, and Kaprizov is not comfortable speaking English at this point. So when he did do stuff, it was through an interpreter, which was not much. And no, I'm not going to say he was bad for the sport because he used an interpreter. But we didn't really get to know him at all. So there are some things here that I just would encourage people not to completely dismiss because you're so confident he's not going.
Yeah. It's so strange because ordinarily when you have these situations between teams and players, it's the player wants more money, more term, right? Remember when Bryce Harper was a free agent like 4 years ago, I want to say, when he was potentially going to leave Washington and Philadelphia was in the mix, and that thing dragged out until the first week of spring training, basically. It was like a 5-month free agency back and forth, because teams were offering like 7, 8, 9-year deals for whatever, like $25 million a year. And he's saying, no, I want 10. Eventually I think he got like a 13-year contract with Philadelphia for $300+ million. Yeah. So usually it's the player who's trying to leverage whatever leverage he has to get more money per year and more term. And in this case, the Wild are offering 8 years. They're basically saying, we've seen enough. 1 year, not a fluke. We think you're going to sustain this level of performance for the rest of your career, and we are comfortable after seeing you for 1 year, giving you an 8-year contract that takes you into your early 30s, and we're ready to put a ring on it, baby. And do we have any idea what the money is? Like $8 to $10 million a year.
I think a floor of 8 is a safe assumption.
Yeah, Russo is reporting it's 8 times 8.5 or 9. Now he might want 10 as well. He might want to get to 10, but yeah, it's substantial.
And now you have a player that's saying, I don't want to. I'm not going to commit that. I'm a commitment phobe. I'd rather commit for 3 years, be a free agent again when I'm still in my prime. But if you're the Wild, don't you just say yes at some point? Like, all right, so it'd be great to get him for 8 years. We could still get him for 8 years just on 2 contracts. We just have to bid against other teams. Like, wouldn't you just say yes to a 4-year deal? What would stop the Wild from just agreeing to what he wants?
Well, I think eventually what you just said, Phil, might have to happen. But I think right now in Guerin's mind, there's enough room to play around with. There's time. And I think that's why the agent keeps going back to the offer from CSKA Moscow, because he's trying to be like, no, you've got to sign him now to the contract he wants. And Guerin's like, well, training camp doesn't start till September, so there's time here to still talk. And I think that he hopes he's convincing him. I think the final step in deciding this is going to be Guerin actually going to Moscow to see Kaprizov and sit down directly with him instead of going through the third party and seeing if the kid will sign. Now, the interesting thing about this and what scares and should scare Guerin is Artemi Panarin, who started with the Blackhawks and got traded to Columbus and had a bridge deal and eventually signed a big deal with the New York Rangers. Like Kaprizov, fired his agent and hired the agent Kaprizov currently has. And so this guy might be an art of the deal, which is to walk your client into free agency and then not only get a killer of a deal, which I think if you go to a different team would be 7 years, but also go to a team that you want. And then just, let's just say he sees Panarin with the Rangers and thinks that looks cool. But what's so intriguing about this is if he does a 3 or 4 year deal, what makes this so juicy is you're not going to care as much if he walks away, and he might not walk away if you win a cup.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, because of the fact that they cleared up cap room with the buyouts and that cap room is going to go away after a season, there is enormous pressure on the Wild not to be building in 2021-22, but to be winning.
Yeah. Well, and by the way, in the NBA, you can only sign guys to a max of 4 and 5 year contracts. So like in that sport, it's really no problem at all if a guy only wants to sign for 3 or 4 years. That's standard. So I don't know. I guess I don't look at this and say, "Oh my God, if he only signs for 4 years, then he could go play somewhere else." Oh, okay. Well, we'll figure that out in 4 years. There's a lot to be done. Like the next 4 years are going to be. It's going to be the fastest he'll ever be, the most agile he'll ever be.
Yes.
You know, it's like you're going to be getting, when you count last year, if he signs a 4-year deal, the 5 basically best years of his career, or potential to be the best years of his career. Look at almost any hockey player that's ever skated. Like their prime years are age 23 through 28, 29. It's not really like other sports where, you know, a quarterback's prime might not start till he's 28 because he's got to read defenses, and he can stay healthy into his late 30s. In baseball, it kind of depends on the style of player, but like there's pitchers that don't figure out how to be an ace until they're 28, and then 28 through 32 is sort of their peak. The NHL is so reliant on speed and agility and quickness and all sorts of things that start to erode once you get into your late 20s, early 30s. So, like, listen, if he wants to sign an 8-year deal, I'm in. I would not turn that down. The Wild are offering it. But I would be a little hesitant to be paying top dollar after what we've seen the last 8 years to a guy who's going to be 31, 32, 33. Get him locked up until he's 28 and then figure it out after that. So I don't see any way this results in him going back to the KHL. Unless, like Judd said, he just loves Russia for some reason.
Mother Russia. Pass the vodka. I got Russian blood, I'll tell you right now. Might be attractive.
Is it tempting for you sometimes
is there a KHL
to move from St. Louis Park to Moscow?
Is there a KHL station? St. Petersburg, we call it, okay? That's the homeland.
I know my Russia. I think their internet is a little bit different than ours, though. It definitely taps into ours. But.
Do you know what they like? Hot takes. The Russians love hot takes.
They do. God. Cold gray Russian day. Some hot takes. All right. Any other thoughts from you guys? I know Declan's panicking. Did we talk you down from a 6 at all, or are you still a 6 on the panic scale?
I'm still a 6, dude. I am a 6, and the military is scrambling. Yes, I have the Navy and the Air Force and the Army. The troops are about to be on the ground here very shortly.
But Dex, you said this too, and Phil just did as well. It's go time.
It's go time.
But you're nervous about what's going to possibly transpire in 4 or 5 years. But it's go time now. I mean, this team is set up to sign guys for this year. This team is set up to win next season.
The window is open right now. Let's figure this out right now. I'm not worried about 5-6 years down the road. I'm not worried about when those cap hits come off with Parise and Suter. You have to figure this out in 3 years now.
Yep. Quick shout out to our friends at Federated Insurance and the Federated Challenge, which is an annual event that supports Big Brothers Big Sisters, which is they just do amazing community-focused work, 116 years of one-to-one mentoring to help ignite our nation's youth. And since 2005, the Federated Challenge has raised over $41 million for Big Brothers Big Sisters. BigBrothersBigSisters.org to find out more. But thanks to partners like SIT Investment Associates, Minnesota Timberwolves and Lynx, Holborn Corporation, helping to drive a lot of that fundraising. So awesome stuff. Want to shine a light on it. And if you're a business owner, definitely check out federatedinsurance.com to find out how they can help you maximize your business. All right, that was a lot of stuff today on the show. A little Kaprizov alarm, write that down predictions, and ranting about why Minnesota sports can't be as good as Wisconsin sports. If you ever miss anything we do, the SKOR North app and SKORNorth.com are great central hubs for Mackie and Judd, Royce Unchained, Purple Daily, Scoop of Doogie, Judd's written work. And tomorrow is Reckless Speculation Thursday, boys. We'll get to this Gallinari report from Dane Moore tomorrow, too. It's a new name in the Timberwolves' hunt for beefing up the roster. We'll talk about that tomorrow. See you guys.